You may have used TRON dozens of times without ever thinking seriously about TRX. Perhaps you needed to send USDT. You selected TRC20. You copied an address beginning with the letter T. You sent the transaction. A few moments later, the funds arrived. And that was it. For millions of crypto users, especially across Asia, this may be their entire relationship with TRON. It is simply the network they use when moving stablecoins. But underneath that USDT transaction is an entire blockchain economy, and at the center of that economy is TRX. TRX is used to access network resources. It can be staked, it provides voting power, it participates in TRON's governance system, and when network resources are insufficient, TRX can be burned to pay transaction costs. In Indonesia, TRX is also not some obscure foreign token. It is currently part of the CFX 10 index alongside Bitcoin, Ethereum, BNB, XRP, Solana, Dogecoin, and other major crypto assets. So what exactly is TRX? Why has TRON become so important for stablecoin transfers? Why does sending USDT sometimes require TRX? What are bandwidth and energy? How decentralized is a network run by 27 active super representatives? And what should foreign crypto users in Indonesia understand before using it? Let's begin. The terminology creates unnecessary confusion. TRON is the blockchain. Think of it as the infrastructure. TRX is the native asset that powers important parts of that infrastructure. And TRC20 is a token standard used for smart contract tokens operating on TRON. So when someone says, "I sent TRC20, they usually mean they sent a TRC20 token, very often USDT. But USDT on TRON is not TRX. Tether introduced TRC20-based USDT onto the TRON blockchain to allow its dollar-peg token to move and interact with applications on TRON. The distinction is simple. TRON is the road. TRX helps operate and pay for the road. USDT is one of the assets traveling on it. Once you understand that, the rest of the ecosystem becomes much easier to understand. TRON's history is also unusual. The project was established in 2017. TRX itself originally existed as an ERC20 token on Ethereum. Then TRON launched its own mainnet in May 2018. By June 2018, the original ERC20 TRX was migrated into the native TRON blockchain. That means modern TRX is not simply another token running on Ethereum. It is the native asset of its own Layer 1 blockchain. And this matters because TRX is integrated directly into how the network operates. It is not merely something users buy and hope becomes more expensive. TRX has protocol-level functions, and those functions are easier to understand once you see how TRON handles transaction costs. This is one of the biggest differences users encounter on TRON. Ethereum users usually think about gas. TRON uses a resource model built primarily around bandwidth and energy. Bandwidth relates to the amount of transaction data being stored and transmitted through the network. Almost every transaction consumes bandwidth. Energy is used when executing smart contracts. That includes many TRC20 token interactions. And this is where TRX becomes useful. Users can stake TRX to receive network resources. Stake for bandwidth if you need transaction capacity. Stake for energy if you regularly interact with smart contracts. Those resources regenerate over time. If sufficient resources are available, they can offset transaction costs. If they are not available, the system can burn TRX to cover the required resource cost. This gives TRX a very direct connection to network activity. TRX is not merely displayed next to the transaction. It is part of the economic mechanism that allows the transaction to happen. This explains a very common experience. You may have 5,000 USDT in a TRON wallet. Economically, you clearly have enough money. But when you try to move the USDT, the wallet may still need network resources. Why? Because USDT is the asset being transferred. TRX and the TRON resource system are what help pay for execution underneath it. A TRC20 transfer invokes a smart contract. Smart contract execution consumes energy, and the transaction itself consumes bandwidth. If your account has enough resources obtained through staking or delegation, those resources can cover the requirement. If not, TRX may be consumed to cover it. This leads to one of the most frustrating crypto experiences for beginners, having thousands of dollars in stablecoins, and being unable to move them because the wallet does not have the relatively small amount of native network resources required. Different wallets and newer infrastructure may abstract this process differently. Tether itself has recently developed gas-less tooling on TRON that can allow supported applications to pay certain TRON transaction fees in USDT rather than requiring the user to hold TRX directly. But fundamentally, the underlying TRON network still operates through its bandwidth and energy resource model. The interface can hide the engine. It does not remove the engine. TRON was built as a general-purpose smart contract blockchain. It supports decentralized applications, smart contracts, tokens, lending, exchanges, and other blockchain activity. But in practical global usage, one application became extraordinarily important: stablecoins, especially USDT. Tether launched USDT on TRON in 2019. By 2026, TRON had become one of the most important networks globally for moving USDT. Tether itself described TRON in August 2026 as the chain where USDT moves the most. Tether reported in May 2026 that TRON had recorded more than 380 million user accounts and more than 13 billion transactions, with over $88 billion of USDT circulating on the network at that time. This tells us something important about TRON. Its relevance is not based only on people speculating on TRX. TRON has become infrastructure for moving dollar-denominated digital value. That use case is particularly relevant in regions where users regularly move stablecoins between exchanges, businesses, wallets, international counterparties, and crypto markets. In many parts of the world, people may know TRON primarily because they know USDT. That is an extraordinary form of blockchain adoption. Staking TRX is also different from the simplistic idea: lock tokens, earn yield. On TRON, staking has operational functions. Stake TRX and you can obtain bandwidth, energy, voting power called TRON power. One staked TRX produces 1 unit of TRON power for governance voting. That means someone who frequently uses the network can stake TRX, partly to reduce recurring resource costs. Someone executing many smart contract transactions may prioritize energy. Someone making ordinary transfers may care about bandwidth. And someone participating in governance can use TRON power to vote for super representatives. Staking therefore connects 3 things: network usage, network economics, and network governance. There is also a liquidity consideration. Under TRON's current Stake 2.0 model, unstaking initiates a waiting period currently set at 14 days before the TRX can become liquid again, although the parameter can be changed through network governance. So staked TRX is not identical to immediately spendable TRX. Resources have value. Liquidity also has value. Now we reach one of the most important structural differences between TRON and some other blockchains. TRON uses delegated proof of stake. TRX holders stake their tokens and obtain voting power. They can then vote for candidates known as super representatives. The 27 highest-ranked candidates become the active super representatives responsible for producing blocks. TRON's current technical documentation states that these 27 producers rotate block production with a new block approximately every 3 seconds. That design helps TRON achieve fast transaction processing. But it also creates an important decentralization discussion. 27 active block producers is a relatively concentrated active validator set compared with networks that use much larger validator populations. TRON's answer is that those representatives are elected through token holder voting and can change as votes change. Critics can still reasonably ask how distributed the underlying voting power and influence actually are. Both points matter. TRON's architecture represents a trade-off: efficiency and fast coordination on one side, a smaller active producer set on the other. Understanding that trade-off is much more useful than simply declaring a blockchain decentralized or centralized. Those words hide a lot of architecture. TRX also indirectly determines who can participate in TRON's governance committee. The 27 active super representatives form the on-chain committee responsible for voting on proposals that can modify network parameters. Those parameters can include resource pricing, block rewards, technical features, and other network settings. This matters because transaction economics on TRON are not permanently frozen. The amount of TRX required under particular resource conditions can change. Network parameters can change. Staking economics can change. Governance matters because the network users experience tomorrow may not have exactly the same economics as the network they experience today. Buying TRX therefore also means gaining exposure to a blockchain whose economic rules are actively governed. TRX should also not be analyzed using Bitcoin's supply model. Bitcoin has a hard maximum supply built around 21 million coins. TRX operates differently. TRON generates economic incentives for block producers and voters. At the same time, TRX can be permanently burned when users need network resources but do not have sufficient bandwidth or energy available. That means TRX economics contain forces on both sides: token issuance associated with network incentives, and token destruction associated with certain network usage and fees. So when analyzing TRX supply, the useful question is not simply how many TRX exist. You also need to understand how much is being issued, how much is being burned, how much is staked, and how heavily is the network being used. TRX supply economics are connected to the activity happening on the blockchain itself. TRON's stablecoin success is one of its strongest competitive advantages. It is also something investors should analyze critically. If a large part of a network's real-world relevance comes from one major stablecoin ecosystem, then changes affecting that stablecoin can matter to the network. That might include issuer decisions, compliance actions, changes in blockchain support, competition from other networks, transaction cost changes, or users migrating to newer settlement infrastructure. Tether and TRON have also worked directly on financial crime enforcement initiatives. In 2024, Tether, TRON, and TRM Labs created the T3 Financial Crime Unit. And by May 2026, Tether reported hundreds of millions of dollars in illicit assets had been frozen through related efforts. This highlights another important reality. Public blockchains can be decentralized at the network layer, while individual stablecoins running on them may still have centralized issuers capable of freezing particular token balances. TRON is the blockchain, USDT is the asset, Tether is the issuer. Never collapse those three things into one. Now the Indonesian context. TRON is available within Indonesia's regulated digital asset market. More importantly, TRX is currently included in CFX10. CFX describes CFX10 as an index containing 10 of the largest eligible crypto assets by market capitalization within its digital financial asset list. TRX is one of its current constituents. As of this review, CFX's market data also displays active rupiah-denominated TRON pricing and trading information. That gives TRX a very different Indonesian profile from an obscure altcoin. It is part of the country's mainstream regulated crypto market infrastructure. But remember the distinction. Presence in CFX's market structure does not mean guaranteed returns, government endorsement, or low investment risk. It tells you about market eligibility, not future price. For foreigners in Indonesia, TRON can matter even if you have absolutely no intention of speculating on TRX. A trader may buy TRX as an investment. A stablecoin user may only keep enough TRX or network resources to move USDT. An international entrepreneur may encounter TRON because counterparties use TRC20 stablecoins. An investor may receive assets through TRON and eventually need to connect that digital value with Indonesia's regulated crypto and banking system. These are different use cases. Do not confuse using the TRON network, holding TRX for operational purposes, staking TRX, and investing in TRX because you expect its price to appreciate. They may involve the same token, they are not the same financial decision. Before holding a meaningful amount of TRX, ask 5 questions. First, why do I need it? Network fees, resources, staking, governance, or investment speculation? Second, do I understand bandwidth and energy? Without understanding the resource model, you do not fully understand what TRX does. Third, do I want to stake the TRX or keep it liquid? Those choices have different consequences. Fourth, do I understand TRON's governance model? 27 active super representatives have a very important role in block production and network decision-making. And fifth, what exactly is my thesis? Am I betting that TRX itself becomes more valuable? Or that increased TRON usage creates greater economic demand for TRX and network resources? Those statements sound similar. They are not identical. This is where Sungaza Live fits. Our role is not simply to tell clients whether TRX will go up or down. We work with foreigners whose financial lives intersect with digital assets in Indonesia. That can include TRX, USDT on TRON, Bitcoin, USDC, or other digital assets available through Indonesia's regulated ecosystem. Sungaza Live operates as a crypto exchange aggregator, helping clients understand and compare appropriate regulated crypto routes in Indonesia. But the journey does not necessarily end at the exchange. Foreign clients may also need rupiah liquidity, Indonesian banking access, a repeatable connection between digital assets and local financial needs, or help understanding which part of the Indonesian financial ecosystem applies to their situation. For eligible foreign clients, Sungaza Live can also assist with navigating Indonesian banking onboarding, subject to the requirements and final approval of the relevant bank. The objective is not push one token, push one exchange, or force every client through the same financial route. The objective is to understand what the client actually needs, and then navigate the appropriate infrastructure around it. TRX becomes much easier to understand when you stop looking only at the price of TRX. Look at the network around it. TRX provides resources. TRX can pay network costs. TRX can be staked. TRX creates voting power. And TRX sits underneath a blockchain that has become one of the world's major infrastructures for moving USDT. That makes TRON different from a memecoin. Its investment value can still rise or fall dramatically, but underneath the price chart is an operating network with measurable economic activity. In Indonesia, TRX is currently part of CFX10 and the country's regulated crypto market infrastructure. For foreign users, the important question may therefore be much bigger than, should I buy TRX? You may need to understand how TRON works, how your stablecoins move, how digital assets connect with regulated Indonesian providers, how you access rupiah when required, and how Indonesian banking fits into the larger picture. If your financial activities involve TRON, TRX, USDT, or other digital assets in Indonesia, contact Sunggaza Live, WhatsApp and Telegram at Sunggaza Live Sunggaza Live, helping international clients understand the asset, the network, and the financial system around them